Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm your host, Preston M. Smith. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm Preston M. Smith, at PMS Artwork everywhere on internet land and socials. I want to thank you for landing on this podcast. Whether you're a professional artist, just getting started in the art world, a collector of art, or just consider yourself a creative person, this podcast has something for you. I like to think of it as a fun way to rant and talk to other creative people about living the life of an artist, surviving and getting ahead in the art world, and enjoying your life. But most importantly, not waiting until you're dead to make it happen. All right, let's get started.
Swing low, sweet chariot, coming on that carry me home. Good night, sweetheart, well, it's time to go. Do, 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 do. Good night, sweetheart, well, it's time to go. Do, 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 do. I hate to leave you, but I really must say, good night, sweetheart, good night. And other songs that have a deep voice. Ha! Hang on a second, let me switch channels here.
All right, that's better. Yeah, a little nod there to Three Men and a Baby, going way back. All you teeny bopper Instagrammers are like, what's that? I don't know that one. That's a movie from the 80s, in case you're wondering. And yes, there is something with my voice today. And you know what? I'm going to roll with it. I'm going to pretend that I have a Howard Stern radio voice. And it's like when you're listening to the audiobook, you know, and you're really getting into the story. And then you just know that the author came in and they were sick or they lost their voice or they got really fucked up the night before. And they come in, all of a sudden, it's just like, yeah, so I was walking down the street and that's what happened. And then the next day, it's like, whoa, who's this? And yeah, it's kind of like that. So if you're listening to a few podcast episodes in a row, that's probably going to happen to you. And you know what? That's okay, because this is real life. This is how it is, IRL, people. IRL, BRB, TTYL. Okay, enough of that shit. So welcome back to the podcast. We are sitting here on a Monday afternoon. Okay, it keeps going on. Maybe I should just turn this into an old crooning episode, but I'm not going to. So we're sitting here on a Monday, had a little bit of crazy allergies over the weekend and stuff, so I didn't get a chance to record earlier, and now I'm in the mad scramble to get my episode recorded so people can listen on Tuesday, and here we are. This is what happens. Today I thought we'd talk a little bit about persistence. Yep, good old-fashioned, you gotta pull yourself up by the bootstraps, kid. You just gotta keep doing it, keep your nose to the grindstone. You know, there's something to be said for that. And I'm not talking about like the hustle culture. You got to outwork everybody. That's fine. You know, you do sometimes have to outwork everybody too. But a lot of times it's just about sticking around. You know what I mean? Pressure over time, sticking around, doing your thing, doing it as well as you can consistently. It's like when I listened to Pete Holmes, he was telling a story about Conan O'Brien, Conesies O'Breezies, as he calls them. And he said that Conan talked about it like, you know, you're playing an instrument, like you have a little triangle, right? The little triangles that you ding. And he's like, and you're sitting there in this room full of instruments and you're just hitting your triangle, ding, 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 over time. And over time, you know, you start to hear the triangle. The triangle gets a little louder. You start to isolate it and you just keep making your sound until it gets heard. And that's kind of like what it's like to be an artist. If you're trying to be a successful artist or a professional artist, it doesn't happen overnight. And even when it does happen overnight, as we've said before, it's the good old-fashioned 10-year, 15-year, 20-year overnight success story. So there has been a whole huge story behind the scenes that you don't even know about. I have one of those. Look, I've been doing this I've been listening to Bill Burr. It's like, Jesus Christ! But I've been doing this for, it's 2022, maybe 20 years or thereabouts professionally down here, or trying to be professional down here. And as everybody knows listening to this podcast, it took me a long time. It took me a real long time to figure out not only myself and my own style and kind of be able to replicate that over and over again. And then, things change and maybe you adopt a different style, and that's finding your voice even more. But it takes some time to just do that. And then to figure out the whole gallery system. And then nowadays to figure out the whole online system and marketing and social media. The social medias, the internets. Takes some time, of course, to get all that stuff in your back pocket. And yeah, it's one of those things you got to just put in the time. And I think it gives me comfort a lot of times now that I'm at this stage, because there's sometimes when, somebody comes up and they're hounding you or something, or they're trolling you, or you see somebody else who's like trying to steal your style, or, any story along those same lines. And it's always like one of those things where I just sit back and I go, you know what? This person's not even going to be around in 2 years. They're going to throw in the towel. And a lot of times that's just how it is. And I don't do that to discourage anybody. I'm just saying that there is something to be said for you having that commitment and going like, you know what? Doesn't matter. Come hell or high water, I'm going to continue down the path. And you just keep going. You just keep going. You make a life out of it. You make a path out of it. It's the journey. It's not the end goal. If you make it into that, it's true. If you start to love the day in, day out, the creation process, the getting in the studio, even, the uploading of work to your online art marketplaces or your social media, doing that practice. If you really start to love that and don't just see it as a means to an end, then, you're going to go somewhere, because a lot of times that's all you have left at the end. Like I've reached, 75% of my goals. I still have more goals and bigger goals, and I'm going to keep writing new goals and 10xing those goals and whatever. But as of right now, looking back, I've achieved 75% of the goals that I had when I was starting out. A lot of it was just like, I want to be able to make a living as an artist, or, I want to have gallery representation, or, I want to be, sell X amount of artworks, or I want to sell my first $10,000 painting, whatever it is. A lot of stuff like that. Once you achieve a lot of those things, there's that moment where you step back and you go, oh, fuck, okay, well, what now? What am I going to do now? Well, you keep going. And if you have conditioned that muscle of the creative process and really being curious about your work and understanding that this is what it is, it's all about getting back in the studio, shaking it off, getting back to the drawing board, creating the new piece, sitting down at the desk, sitting down at the computer, at the phone, doing your work day in, day out. If you know that that's the game, if you know that's part of it, and of course there are other little things that'll come up and little goals that you'll do and other little sub paths that you'll follow. But if you know that's there and that's what it is, that's part of the game, and you like it and you end up enjoying that, and you can do that and be in the present moment when you're doing that, you're going to be fine. It's the people who get too far ahead of themselves and like, I want to be here. I want to be here. I'm here, but I want to be here constantly. That's fine for a while because it gives you the fire to keep going. But if you're always doing that at year 10, year 12, year 15, whatever, you're going to burn out, because you have to be able to realize that just doing the art and being persistent is part of the process. And then you'll start looking back at your career and go, wow, look at my resume, all the stuff that added up. Oh, I did this year, and I can't believe I did this, and I shot that documentary this year, and oh, this was the year I sold my biggest painting to, Europe or whatever. Or this is the year I was in the LA Art Show, or whatever it is for you. Those things just start to stack up over time. And if you're just starting out and you're listening to this and you're wondering if you have the stick-to-itiveness or the gall or the gumption to keep going and be an artist, if you're wondering that, well, you got to just try these things out. You got to do a little trial and error. Do you like doing this every day in, day out for 6 months? Okay, you like it for 6 months? Try it for a year. Do you still like it? Are you still enjoying the process of creating the art? Sure, things change. I don't always want to create. I don't want to go in the studio every day and do this, but I do it. And most of the times, once I'm in the studio, I love it. But certain things about it become monotonous. But as long as you're still enjoying the process, as long as it's still getting you out of bed every morning, then this might be something that you have the ability to do. And maybe you should follow this and be persistent with it. And there's nothing wrong with, hanging up your hat at some point. I don't like this. I'm going to do something else. Fine, go do something else. But if you are committed and this is something you want to do long term, then just know that this is the path for you and that persistence, pressure over time, all that stuff is going to add up. And seriously, it's like a pyramid. Once you start getting to the top, there's so much fewer people that when you started out, it's like, oh, this person's not doing it anymore. This person's not doing it anymore. What happened to this person, So it's almost like the competition becomes a little bit thinner as you get to the upper echelon, or you get to close to the peak of the mountain. And of course, that's when you've honed your craft and you've got your style and you've got your voice and you've got your tool is really sharp. I'm using a lot of metaphors. But if I do it in this voice, it's okay. Man, this voice. I think I should try to keep this voice all times. But anyway, you hear what I'm saying? You hear what I'm saying? Jesus Christ! Get out that! Okay. Bill Burr, love you. So that's the episode, really. It's just persistence, and it's not easy. It's not easy, but nothing is. It's not always easy, but it's something that is worth pursuing. I think we all have a little bit of ADD or ADHD these days. We're so bombarded with so many distractions, and we all want to be Insta famous or successful or famous or whatever we want to do. We have this culture that feeds us this idea. It's the Fight Club thing, of course, of we're all meant to be rock stars and, social media, Instagram influencers and all that bullshit. Well, maybe you are, maybe you're not, but that should not be your primary goal, I don't think. The primary goal should be your art. And that could be a healthy byproduct of you doing well at your job or finding a little subpath when you're on that path to just getting better and better at your craft. There's nothing wrong with that. Just doing the work. Do the work. Get out of here. Just get out of here and go do some work. Thanks for listening to this very low decibel version of the Living Artist Podcast. And we will see you next time when I'm up here. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for sticking around.
Good night, sweetheart. Good night.
This has been the Living Artist Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I just want you to know that I appreciate you being here, and I'm grateful to be in your ears. Your art and creative life on this planet is meaningful, so thank you for sharing it with me. If you like this podcast, whatever platform you're listening to it on, please subscribe and share it with your friends. You can also leave me a positive review to show your support. This helps me to reach more people with the algorithmic magic and keep the show going strong. If you want to see more of what I do and check out the art that I create, you can visit my website at www.pmsartwork.com or follow me on social media everywhere at PMS Artwork. That's it for now. See you back here next time.